Okay, everyone. Hello again. Here's another lecture, again, just to help with some of the designing of shapes for your final project. So I call this lecture Shape Exaggeration. So we're working from reference photos for this project for kind of the first time. And the main thing I want you to think about when working from those reference photos is to not copy those photos exactly. We're not cameras, we're not photocopy machines, so we have to use these reference photos to help our designs and help make our compositions better. So that is not worrying about copying them exactly, but using them to influence our shapes. So think about using those photos and then exaggerating them to get more unique shapes within your composition. So I have a few reference photos here to kind of work from for these examples. And we'll think about how to exaggerate these to make them into more unique shapes. So here is an image of Mount Rainier. So this may be a focal point in your image. It might be a background, part of something in your composition. So start thinking about, as I go through these examples, how you can use these for your own reference photos. So using what you can do and how you can exaggerate your own reference photos for your final project. So you can, this is probably a good thing to do when you're doing your studies based off of your reference photos, and also as you go from thumbnails to workup sketch. So here on this one, let's just draw a little frame here. So here we have the image of the mountain. It's already a pretty strong image, so if I wanted to exaggerate the strength and size of this, I can think about how to frame it within the composition and also how I'm going to draw the line work. So I want to draw this as an even more blocky, or almost using straight lines more to make this feel even stronger, even larger, and even more powerful within this image. So I'm just going to start sketching here. So all these images that we do, it's not about copying them exactly. It's about getting the overall feel and using these photos to help us have a little bit better shapes within our compositions. So here I'm just using mostly straight lines to sketch this, and thinking about how I'm doing this to create a very strong feeling of this mountain. So I'm sketching here in Photoshop, but this will obviously be done if you're working for studies or for your workup sketches in your sketchbook. So I think I can make this even a little bit wider here to show the width of it and make it have it be a little bit more rectangular, a little more powerful. Okay, so there's an exaggerated shape. So as you can see, I'm not worried about copying this exactly. It's more about getting the overall feel of this and having some uniquely designed shapes. So once I have this shape, then I can go in and add some details. So I can add some of the texture up here in the mountain, if need be. If it's not a focal point, if it's just in the background, I may not need to add much texture or details on it. Maybe you have a focal point down here of a person or something else that's going on in your composition. But overall now this feels like a big, strong, powerful shape within the composition. Okay, let's look at this next one. So here we have kind of a creepy looking house, very cool design. But if I want to exaggerate it more and make it even more scarier, or make it scarier, I would really want to exaggerate some of the angles on here. So just starting from the top here. So I'm going to do this as if this is one of my studies rather than putting it in a composition. So I really just want to elongate these towers here. I can add in other stuff, add in more points. So I'm trying just to make these even skinnier, even pointier as I design these shapes a little bit more. To make this a little smaller because I'm going to run out of room. And again, with these studies, they do not need to be polished and finished designs. It's just kind of playing around with these shapes, seeing how much you can exaggerate it. Again, here's another point, so I really want to exaggerate that. So I think now we're getting to a pretty interesting shape to go along with the design for this house, this building. You know, I could even come in here and add another tower over here just to give it some more pointy shapes. I'm just going to kind of copy the same tower I have here. Just draw a similar shape again. So now we got some nice, creepy, weird, exaggerated angles going on. And putting some bush type shapes down around it. And there, here we go. I mean, I could probably push this even more, but again, just being based on the photograph, not worrying about copying it exactly. I could probably then come in and put some like nice dark black shadows in different places to help with that mood. Always be bold with the blacks if it's appropriate for your mood or your composition. Just make that entire one black. Because that's really going to help to make those designs really pop through that use of black. There. I could also throw some, pattern in here for, brick texture. Some cracks, make it really dirty. Add some little bats or birds flying around. And hopefully, even if I made this all solid black, it should still read as a good silhouette, hopefully, and you can still tell what it is and have a good feeling about the mood of this piece right here. So this is probably good enough for a study. Then you can use this design that you came up with when you go into a thumbnail or a workup sketch. So I think that's looking pretty interesting there. Cool, yeah, look how much that dark helps with the mood. It really makes it a lot more interesting to put some nice solid blacks on that. Never be timid with those blacks, especially if you're going for a scarier mood, but other moods as well can utilize those solid blacks. Some of the most successful pieces have a very bold and strong use of blacks. See how much black you can get into a composition and have it still read well. Okay. So now here's a little slug bug. So this obviously is a rounded shape already, but I want to make this even more of a friendly mood, make it more enticing for kind of that kid's mood. So here, let's exaggerate the curves. So let's see how much we can push this to a cartoony view. I think I did one example with a car kind of like this on our mood day. But have fun with these. I mean, the studies, again, don't need to be anything finalized. Just see how much you can play around with it. this kind of becomes part of your own style too. How do you use reference photos? How do you use it to create some unique designs? So cars are definitely tricky to draw. If anyone has cars in their compositions, pay special care to those. I still struggle with drawing cars, so it's something that I try and practice whenever I get a chance to. But exaggerating it can make it fun, so let's give it some really tiny little wheels down here. Maybe make this a little smaller right in here. These cute little wheels. So changing up these proportions will make it feel more cartoony, more playful, more fun, and again go along with that rounded mood, that childlike friendly mood that we're going for here. So it'll really be up to you to see how much you want to exaggerate this to make it more unique for your own design. Okay, we'll do one last one. So yeah, again, that could work here. Again, something depending on if it's a focal point or not, or just a background shape, will depend on how much detail and time you want to put into that. But I think this is kind of fun right now. You can do the same thing with characters and people. Here's Ron Swanson from the show Parks and Rec. He's a very unique character, so think about if you do have a face of a character in your final art, how can you exaggerate that to make it a more unique character? So he's obviously a very unique looking guy. He has a big strong forehead here. This mustache is a very unique shape. Kind of a small nose, very round chin. So let's see how we can draw this to exaggerate this and make it into a unique character. So he's always very kind of an angry looking guy, so we'll furrow that brow and just exaggerating the angle of that eyebrow. Give him a very little nose here. He's got these big kind of bags under his eyes often. So I want to exaggerate that mustache since it's such a prominent characteristic. So if you do have characters in your composition, you can take pictures of people that you know that may look similar to the character. You can take a picture of yourself kind of doing a facial expression or a pose that may be similar to the character. Or sometimes I will find a certain celebrity or actor that may work as a character, since there's, lots of pictures of different celebrities and actors online, and you can find pictures of them that way. So again, exaggerating the shape of the hair. And something, like that. This is looking okay. But I would continue to play with those shapes, but again, not copying it exactly. We're not copiers, we're not cameras, so it's more about exaggerating and using our reference photos for inspiration to get those unique shapes. So go through the reference photos that you guys have. Think about, as you do your studies, how you can exaggerate those reference photos and make them exaggerate the shapes and make them into really unique shapes or silhouettes to work for your compositions.